She doesn't raise her hand. She doesn't scream. She doesn't need to. Because the most dangerous woman a man will ever meet will never look dangerous. She'll look kind. She'll look fragile. She'll look like everything you didn't get enough of as a boy. And that's what makes her lethal. You won't see her coming because she doesn't attack your pride. She attacks your purpose softly, slowly, until you're smiling through your own collapse, thinking it's love. These women don't ruin men with chaos. They ruin them with comfort. They feed your ego just enough to silence your instincts. They offer affection while stealing direction. And by the time you wake up, you don't recognize the man in the mirror. This isn't about hate. It's about awareness. Because once you know how they move, you stop letting them move through you. There are 6 of them, 6 types of women who will never scream at you, never hit you, never betray you loudly, because they don't need to destroy your body. They only need to weaken your spirit. This is not a warning. This is a map. And if you're still alive enough to hear this, follow closely. She doesn't want a boyfriend. She wants a son, not to raise him, but to recreate him in her image. She praises you when you please, withdraws when you resist, and little by little, you stop making decisions, unless she approves first. She doesn't yell, she sighs. She doesn't demand, she worries. And you confuse her concern for care when it's really control wrapped in softness. She will complement your potential, but only if she gets to shape it. She will love your strength, as long as she can direct it. And if you ever grow beyond her vision, she won't celebrate. She'll shrink back and say, "You've changed." You haven't. You've just stopped being her project. She won't cheat. She won't lie. She'll simply make you doubt your own authority, until your voice sounds foreign to your own ears, until you second-guess every boundary, every goal, every gut instinct, because it might upset her. This is not nurturing. It's erasure. She doesn't want a man to admire. She wants one to manage. And once you surrender enough of yourself, she'll start asking why you're not the man she dreamed of. The irony? You were, until you let her rewrite you. She never yells. She never leaves. But somehow, she's never really there. Her body is present. Her tone is polite. Her smile is automatic. But her soul? It's elsewhere, untouchable, unavailable, uninterested. You'll convince yourself she's just tired, just stressed. That if you just do more, show up harder, become better, she'll open up. But she won't, because she was never invested. She just liked being chosen. You gave her your heart. She gave you participation. And you mistook silence for peace. But silence can be a prison, especially when you're the only one still trying. You'll make plans. She'll nod. You'll share dreams. She'll smile. You'll ask her what she wants. She'll say, "I don't know." And somehow, you'll feel guilty for asking. This woman doesn't fight you. She drains you by never meeting you halfway, by making you carry the full weight of the connection while she floats above it. Eventually, you'll question your own worth. You'll think maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're asking for too much. Maybe real love is supposed to feel empty? No, it's not love. It's emotional ghosting in real time. A relationship where you're never truly abandoned, but never truly chosen either. And the scariest part? She'll stay. For months, years, maybe forever. And you'll rot in the silence, still calling it stability. She speaks calmly, explains clearly, argues with precision. She always has a reason. And somehow, you never do. She's not loud. She's right. Every disagreement becomes a debate. Every mistake becomes a pattern. Every boundary you try to set, she calls it selfish, immature, or deflecting. She doesn't hit below the belt. She rewrites the rules, mid-conversation, and you're always one step behind, trying to defend your intent while she's already dissecting your tone. You think you're building understanding. She thinks she's building a case. And in her courtroom, you're always guilty until proven perfect. You'll learn to apologize for things you didn't do, just to end the conversation. You'll accept false narratives, because disproving them takes more energy than staying silent. You'll start choosing peace over truth, and slowly, your truth disappears. This woman doesn't want a partner. She wants a puzzle she can solve, a story she can edit, a man she can correct until he resembles her definition of safe. But here's the cost. You'll stop expressing, stop leading, stop dreaming, because everything becomes a negotiation. And your masculinity? It's now on trial. This isn't communication. It's correction. This isn't love. It's litigation. And the longer you stay, the less of you survives the sentence. She gives and gives and gives until you feel guilty for needing space. She doesn't demand, she sacrifices, and then quietly resents you for not noticing. You never asked her to shrink, but she shrinks anyway. You never wanted her to lose herself, but she offers herself up like a gift you didn't request, and then mourns it like a wound you caused. She never says, "I'm angry." She says, "It's fine." But her silence hurts louder than words. And her loyalty? It's not clean. It comes with invisible strings that tighten every time you try to stand on your own. She keeps score, quietly, emotionally, and every time you speak your truth, she reminds you, softly, of everything she's done for you. You'll feel selfish for choosing purpose over proximity. You'll feel cruel for needing solitude. And worst of all, you'll start editing yourself to avoid disappointing her sadness. This isn't love. It's emotional hostage-taking. She paints herself as the one who stayed when others left. And maybe she did, but only because leaving would have cost her the identity she built on your back. You don't belong to her. You belong to her story about herself. And the moment you grow, the moment you reclaim your center, she'll say, "You're not who you used to be." She's right. You're not. Because you finally realized her love was not a gift. It was a bargain. She doesn't demand. She doesn't seduce. She doesn't complain. She just notices. She studies you, praises your strength, encourages your dreams, and then, slowly, subtly, starts to make adjustments. She'll never say, "Change." She'll say, "Have you ever thought about doing it this way?" She won't question your values. She'll challenge them. She won't insult you. She'll inspire you to evolve. And because she's so kind, so thoughtful, so emotionally intelligent, you assume she's helping, but she's not. She's editing. You'll wake up one day in a life that feels foreign, with friends you never chose, habits that don't belong to you, goals that never came from your gut, and a voice in your head that sounds like hers, but with your mouth. This woman doesn't destroy with chaos. She destroys with craft. She uses insight like a chisel, carving away your edge until all that's left is a smooth, agreeable version of yourself. And the worst part? You'll thank her for it. Because the man you used to be, he was inconvenient, unpolished, dangerous, but he was real. And now he's gone, replaced by a man who still smiles, but only after checking her face first. You thought they would break you with rage, but they broke you with rhythm, with routine, with slow compromises dressed as connection. This wasn't destruction. It was domestication. And now you live in a cage made of yes, where every boundary you abandoned was wrapped in love. Every gut feeling you ignored was immaturity. And every piece of your wildness was treated like a flaw. But it's not. That wildness, that clarity, that unfiltered voice in you, it was never the problem. It was the antidote. You weren't too much. You were just in the wrong environment. You weren't broken. You were being bent. And now, for the first time, you don't want revenge. You don't even want her to change. You want you back. Not the version she molded, not the one they all preferred, but the one who knew, instinctively, who he was, where he stood, and what he'd never trade for love. That man, he's not gone. He's waiting. He's watching. He's sharpening. You were never weak. You were just misled. You were told that being chosen was the prize, that if a woman stays, it means you're winning. But some women don't stay out of love. They stay to feed off of yours. And the longer they stay, the more you shrink, quietly, invisibly, politely. You don't get destroyed all at once. You get reframed. Your ambition gets too much. Your standards become unrealistic. Your independence is labeled emotional distance. And suddenly, everything that made you powerful is now the problem. You'll hear yourself say, "She's been through a lot. She means well. She's just not used to good men." And behind every excuse, another inch of you dies. You'll think growth means adapting. You'll think maturity means shrinking. You'll think loyalty means sacrificing your core. But what you call commitment is actually compliance. And the real you is suffocating under the weight of not upsetting her. That's not a relationship. That's a contract you never signed, to abandon yourself in exchange for her comfort. And here's the truth. No one says out loud. Some women don't want a man. They want a mirror. One that only reflects what flatters them, agrees with them, obeys them. Break that mirror, and you're the villain. Keep it whole, and you become a ghost. So the question is no longer, does she love you? The real question is, do you even recognize yourself anymore? Because love should never cost your voice. It should never edit your edge. And if it does, it was never love. It was leverage. There comes a moment when silence becomes too loud, when "I'm fine" no longer calms you, when pretending that everything's okay starts to feel like self-betrayal. That's when the shift begins. Not outside, inside. You stop negotiating with guilt. You stop chasing approval. You stop letting emotion override instinct. You start asking real questions. Does this relationship align with my values? Am I respected or just tolerated? Is her love pulling me forward or pulling me apart? And when the answers sting, you don't flinch. You stand. Because masculinity isn't about control. It's about clarity. It's about knowing your center and protecting it with everything you've got. You don't need her to submit. You need her to respect your standard. And if she can't, you walk. Not because you're heartless, but because you finally realized you're not afraid to be alone anymore. That's what kills their power. Not anger, not revenge, just self-possession. Because the man who owns himself fully cannot be manipulated. He doesn't perform. He doesn't explain. He doesn't justify his edge. He's not looking for a mother. He's not looking for a savior. He's not looking for approval. He's whole. And that wholeness, it terrifies women who only know how to bond through control, because they can't rewrite a man who won't hand them the pen. You were never meant to be remade. You were meant to be remembered by yourself first. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Not to her, not to the world, not even to yourself. Because the man who has seen the game from the inside no longer plays to win. He plays to walk away clean. You've tasted what it feels like to lose yourself slowly. Now, taste the power of returning. Returning to silence that doesn't punish, but strengthens. Returning to peace that isn't empty, but earned. Returning to a version of yourself you didn't need to explain to anyone. You've been blamed. You've been shamed. You've been told you were cold, guarded, angry. But none of it was true. You were just tired of being twisted to fit their comfort. Now, you're not afraid to say no. Not with anger, with presence. Not to punish, but to protect. Because you finally realize a man's power doesn't come from how much he gives away. It comes from what he refuses to surrender. And if that makes you hard to love for some, so be it. Because real love doesn't require you to disappear. It doesn't edit your intensity. It doesn't negotiate your mission. So no, you're not bitter. You're not broken. You're not unhealed. You're rebuilt. stronger, sharper, simpler. You no longer chase women who test you to feel power. You attract the rare few who respect your frame. You no longer fear being misunderstood. You fear being diluted. Because once you've lost yourself for someone, you'll never again trade your voice for a kiss, your path for a promise, your crown for comfort. The war is over, and this time you won.